Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape. In this video, we're reviewing an electric bike that is very easy for me to recommend. It also happens to be very comfortable. Let's get into the review of the Euphree City Robin X Plus electric bike. Before we get started with the review, if you are looking to purchase a Euphree electric bike, we'd really appreciate it if you use our affiliate link down in the description prior to making your purchase. It's a free and easy way to help support the channel, makes videos like this one possible. Thank you so much for your support. We'll also have some valuable resources down in the description as well. Our popular electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and our electric bike discounts code page, where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow. And you might also want to check out shop.ebikeescape.com if you're looking for some accessories that we sell and you want to help support us. With that, let's get into the walk around of the Euphree City Robin X Plus. So first I'll talk a little bit about the company, dive into the components, and then we'll get into some first-person riding footage where I'll talk about how this bike rides, and then finally some third-person riding footage where I'll give you my concluding thoughts on this electric bike. And I wasn't exaggerating when I say that this bike is very easy for me to recommend, and that's because it is feature-packed. If you aren't familiar with Euphree, they started with the City Robin, and unlike many other brands, instead of expanding to a bunch of different electric bikes, they've just decided to focus on the City Robin and then keep making it better. I think we're in the third iteration of this electric bike. They are a relatively new company, but in my opinion, they've done quite a bit in the last few years as they've been iterating on this electric bike. The company is US-based in Texas. They have US-based customer support. And if you aren't sold by my review, maybe you could give them a call or an email just to get some other information, talk to them about their bikes. I'm sure they'd be happy to do so. The Euphree City Robin X Plus, not surprisingly, follows the X, which was released last fall. We actually did a range test on this electric bike. We have a full review of the 2022 City Robin, so we've covered them quite a bit at this point. And we also recently did a Fitment video that talked about all the adjustment points around this electric bike. That video, of course, is applicable to any electric bike that you buy, so you might want to check out that video if you're interested. Let's jump into price. The City Robin has always hovered around $2,000, but they increased the price this time around to $2,099, and I think that $100 extra is justified. Firstly, I am going to run through all of the changes on this electric bike before we dive into the components. The first change they made was fenders. They made these metal fenders thicker, which means maybe less noise, but perhaps more importantly, a less chance of them getting dented in shipping. Next, they slightly changed the wiring. So on the City Robin X, they always had this super clean integrated wiring right into the down tube. It's not something we often see at this price point, but now in addition to those wires, instead of having the hydraulic line for the brake line coming externally, it's actually routed right through the head tube as well. And so these wires not only look clean, but what's really nice is usually you have these big bundle of wires coming here, so there's no chance of interference with the optional front basket. Another slight change is they added this Euphree front badging in case you don't add the front basket. It looks really nice. Another change they made was they went to these Velo locking ergonomic grips, faux leather, and of course that matches the saddle. Speaking of the saddle, this used to be the upgraded saddle that they offered, but now they're just including it stock, so a nice upgrade. And I personally find that this is pretty comfortable. If you want some other options, check out our electric bike accessories list. They also shortened the seat tube here 2 inches to accommodate even shorter riders. They're saying that even riders around 5 foot or 5'1" can still touch on their tippy toes, though riders around 5'3" are going to feel more comfortable being able to have their foot likely flat-footed on the ground. And if you are a shorter rider, you can always remove the suspension seat post because that, of course, raises the seat height a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about the suspension seat post in a little bit. Perhaps most significantly, they moved from a cadence sensor to a torque sensor. In the first-person riding footage, I'm going to talk a lot about that and the different power settings that they have available. They also changed the gearing from 14 to 28 teeth to 11 to 28 teeth. That should allow you to provide human power even at higher speeds. That also helps eliminate any chance of ghost pedaling. Next on the list is the included Café Lock, not something I've seen from other electric bike brands. I'm going to show you how it works. Simply turn the key and there's a lever on the other side and you can lock your bike. Now, it isn't the end-all be-all as far as security goes, but if you live in an area where bike theft really isn't an issue, it's nice for a quick lockup. Here's a look at the lever on the right side. And the last thing is they upgraded to 12 gauge spokes in the rear. So those are just the changes on this electric bike. I actually think that is pretty significant, especially for the $100. Let me know if you agree down in the comment section below. All right, now let's talk about all the other things that makes this bike great. It comes in Rebel Blue, Emerald Green, and I will say that the lighting here is probably not doing justice to just how nice these paint jobs look. It also comes in Pearl White and Midnight Black, and the company just sells this bike in a step-through, so it's very accessible. It weighs 58 pounds and has a 270-pound weight capacity. Let's jump into the components. First off, Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. Brakes that I'm very familiar with that have plenty of stopping power. They're paired with 180 millimeter disc in the front and a 160 millimeter disc in the rear. The bike has a quick release, which means it's pretty easy to remove the front tire in case you need to throw it in the back of your vehicle. For tires, we have these really nice Kenda 27.5 by 2.1 inches wide. Now this bike is certainly set up more as a city-oriented electric bike, but it's more of a hybrid tire, so you could take this on some crushed gravel paths as well. Again, included metal fenders, front and rear. Now here's where it gets interesting because in my opinion, the company is using more name brand components than we often see around this price point. So this is a SR Suntour front suspension fork, 100 millimeters of travel, preload adjustment on the left, and a lockout on the right. Of course, this suspension fork is what also allows it to be a little bit more of a versatile electric bike. And as you can see, certainly going to soak up some bumps on the road. Again, the new Euphree faceplate, the awesome integrated wiring. Let's stop there on the front headlight because this is a brighter than most integrated light. I'll go ahead and turn the light on by holding the pedal assist up button. Now it's going to be difficult to see, but just know that this 200 lumen light is brighter than most. It also gives you some side visibility and it's mounted right there on the handlebars and it is adjustable up and down. So really like this for additional safety. Let's jump into the cockpit. We have those Velo locking ergonomic grips, the Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers with motor cutoffs, left-hand thumb throttle. Let's jump over to the right side. We have Microshift components. This is 7 speeds. This is a component that I prefer compared to the very basic Shimano components. To shift up, you're going to use the top lever, and then to shift down, you're going to use the bottom lever. We also have a really nice bell. Moving over to the adjustable stem, you'll notice this additional piece here. This is made to work with SP Connect phone cases. So you can buy a specific case for your phone, or you can buy a universal one. So you can have your phone front and center. A nice touch that I don't see a lot of companies do. Or if you prefer, you can check out the cell phone case that we sell ourselves at shop.ebikeescape.com. That's the one that I'll use during the first-person riding footage because I do not have an SP Connect phone case. And of course, one of the really nice things about this stem is that you can adjust it to your liking, bring the handlebars a little bit further up, further down. I kind of have them at a happy medium. And even more, these are swept-back handlebars, which put the rider in a much more upright riding position. You'll be able to tell that in the third-person riding footage towards the end of the video. Next, the display, a smaller display located on the left side of the handlebars. Power button is in the middle. In the top left-hand corner, we have miles per hour. Top right-hand corner, battery percentage, which is very helpful. Bottom left-hand corner, we have pedal assist, 0, Eco, Tour, Sport, and Turbo. We also have a trip distance, and hitting the power button will give you additional information, odometer and trip time. Double tapping the power button will get you into some advanced settings, brightness, system. You can change the power indication from percentage to voltage if you prefer. We also have auto off, that's the timeout for the bike. Wheel size, you don't want to touch that. And then there is advanced, we'll jump into that in just a second, and factory settings where you can reset the bike. You can also set a password and exit. Let's jump into the advanced settings. Password is going to be 1801. Here's where you can change the speed limit as well as the current limit. It's at 15 amps, but you can go up to 20. Just know that your battery is going to drain a little bit faster. Assist levels, pulls in the motor, don't touch that. Start strength, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the first person riding footage because I think the company was really smart and with the torque sensor offers two different settings. And throttle. One of the things that Euphree has decided to do with this electric bike is ship it as a class 3 electric bike with the throttle turned off. So you'll need to go in here and turn the throttle on. Just know that the throttle only speed is also tied to this speed limit. So if you want a class 2 electric bike, be sure that tops out at 20 miles per hour. And that's it for the advanced settings. For graphics, we have Euphree on the down tube. There's also their logo on top of the down tube. We also have City Robin in the rear, and just generally this frame, besides the seat tube being changed, is almost identical to the previous generation of this bike. We also have bottle cage bosses, also can be used for a folding lock, not one, but two. Charging wise, the battery can be charged both on and off the bike. There is a rubber protector cover here. That's where you charge it with the battery in the bike. I'll show you how to remove the battery. Put the keys in, turn to the left, and there is a lever located right here by my finger. That's going to release the battery. Sometimes with these batteries located underneath the down tube, they can be a little bit tricky to get out, but you get used to it. Sometimes turning the handlebars can help as well. This is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery. There is a little light that gives you an idea of battery capacity, though you'll want to use the one on the screen for more accuracy. To put the battery back, you'll want to put the bottom end in first. Put it in place and snap it into the frame. And then I always hold the battery and then turn the key to the right and remove. And just to be extra safe, I like to pull the lever and just give the battery a tug and make sure it's definitely locked into place. For pedals, we have Welgo pedals with rubber grip. Really fit the fact that this is a city-oriented electric bike. Kickstand located to the rear. No chance of the pedals hitting it. Nice and burly kickstand. Here's a look at the cables that come out beneath the down tube. They even have the hydraulic line for the rear brake integrated into the frame. That's a nice touch. Again, Tektro hydraulic disc brake in the rear, 160 millimeter rotor. One thing that makes this bike very versatile is that the rear rack is welded right into the frame and has a 100-pound weight capacity. You have pannier hangers here, and they also sell a basket which clips into place right here. Already showed off the Café Lock, a nice addition for the X Plus. Powering this electric bike is a Bafang 500 watt sustained 900 watt peak motor. Stay tuned for the first person riding footage and our hill climb test. I'll talk about how this motor performs. Again, 11 to 28 teeth freewheel in the rear and a large 50 tooth front chainring, single-sided. It is metal. If you decide to do some light off-roading with this electric bike, take it over some bumps, you might want to consider some clear plastic here to help keep your frame looking nice. I have some on our electric bike accessories list. Maybe that's something that they can include on the next generation. In the rear, again, Microshift components. This is a 7-speed. And in my experience, these Microshift components perform just fine for recreational riding. We do have a derailleur guard in the rear to help prevent the derailleur from getting bent. Motor cable comes in on the right side here, and they did integrate the shifter cable into the frame on this side, though the motor cable comes beneath the chainstay. And finally, one of the highlights of this electric bike is the included SR Suntour NCX suspension seat post. It's a seat post that I've been recommending pretty much since I started the channel. Buying this separately will cost you about $100, so factor that into the price of this electric bike. Now, it's not going to do justice just me sitting on this, but just know that once you try one of these suspension seat posts, you can't go back. So you can get an idea of how this suspension seat post works. Even if you don't buy this electric bike, I highly recommend you pick up one of these suspension seat posts. Accessory-wise, Euphree sends you this really nice burlap bag, has a T-handle Allen, and you also get a multi-tool that you might want to bring with you on your rides. And of course you have the charger. This is a 2-amp charger, and they do give you some reflectors as well. So that's everything you need to know components-wise, but how does the bike ride, and most importantly, how does the torque sensor feel? Let's get into some first-person riding footage. Before we get started, a few things to call out. This bike ships as a Class 3 electric bike, which means pedal assist, no throttle, up to speeds of 28 miles per hour. If you want to use the throttle, you do need to go in the advanced settings and turn it on. And keep in mind the speed limit within the display also controls the top speed with throttle alone. So you'll want to turn that down to 20 miles per hour if you want this to be a true Class 2 electric bike. In the throttle only section coming up, I'm going to just test the throttle out, give it full speed, and so it will go above 20 miles per hour, but be sure to follow all of your local laws and regulations. Secondly, we need to talk about the difference between a torque sensor and a cadence sensor. I like to explain cadence sensors as more on-off switches. If you're pedaling, the bike is going to give you whatever power you select in the pedal assist mode. A torque sensor measures how much input you're putting in as a rider and amplifies it, which lends itself to a more natural riding experience. Neither one is better than the other. It's more of a personal preference. I fall in the torque sensor camp, but I ride cadence sensor electric bikes all the time, even for personal use. Now, this being a torque sensor, you need to work a little bit more for the top speed. So if you were to hop on a old City Robin with a cadence sensor, throw it in the highest level of pedal assist, it's going to feel more powerful because of course it's using a cadence sensor. It's just giving you the max power of the motor. You don't have to work for it. Now what's really cool is Euphree has gone and set 2 different settings which you can select from. The first one is more tuned like a Bosch motor, so I'm told. We'll see here in a little bit. And that means you're probably going to have to work a little bit more for those speeds. And then the second, maybe closer to a cadence sensor experience, though of course it's still a torque sensor, but it should give you a little bit more power. So first I'll do a throttle only test, and then I will leave it in the stock controller setting for the torque sensor. And then I'll go and change that to the second setting, see how much more power we're getting. And I'm also going to turn the amperage up to 20, just to compare and contrast if you're someone who just wants a little bit of assistance or you're someone who wants a lot of assistance. All right, with that, let's get into the throttle only test. Got the GPS speed by Cool Nix here, and we'll see what this bike can do with the left-hand thumb throttle. 3, 2, 1, throttle only. Display is reading 12, 14, 16, 17, 20 miles an hour on the display. Looks like the GPS is getting caught up. Now saying 24, 25, 26, and it looks like the speed from Euphree is reading a little bit more at 28 miles an hour, and we're seeing also 27 on the GPS. So plenty of power, and again, you can customize that top speed. Let's go ahead and turn pedal assist off, because people do ask, can you pedal an electric bike with no assist? And I am in first gear now, going about 7, 8 miles an hour at a leisurely cadence, and this is about what I'd expect. It just feels like you're pedaling a heavy electric bike. And of course, hills are going to be a significant challenge, even in the lowest gear. All right, let's start going through the various pedal assist levels, again, with the stock settings. Right now, we're in Eco. And as I go through these pedal assist settings, I'm going to first go at a nice leisurely cadence, and then I'm going to push a little bit more harder on the pedals. It's just something that's a little bit harder to get across in video compared to a cadence sensor. So leisurely cadence, going about 8-9 miles an hour. Again, not surprisingly, it eases you on nice and easily, which is something I like, especially for an accessible electric bike like this one. All right, I could probably go in second gear here though. All right, 8-9 miles an hour. If I push on the pedals, I don't even really hear the motor engaging more, but going a little bit faster at 12 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into Tour. I can maybe go into third gear. Just make sure. Third gear, 12 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour. And again, if I put a little more effort in, going about 15, 16 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into sport mode. 15 miles an hour, could maybe shift up to fourth gear. I prefer a slower cadence. And if I put a little bit more effort in, that's where I'm hearing the motor a little bit more. 17, 18, 19 miles an hour. And we'll go into turbo now. Staying in that same gear. So leisurely cadence, 16, 17 miles per hour, very doable. And then if I push a little bit more, I'm going to shift up into sixth gear. Getting a bit of a workout for sure, but going 23 miles an hour. And if I really push it, 25, 27 miles an hour. Getting up to that class 3 speed of 28 miles an hour. Just see what the top speed is here. And I'm going to shift up to 7th gear. And I still am able to provide plenty of power. Gearing excellently done on this electric bike. Display is reading right at 28 miles an hour. GPS is reading now 28 as well. All right, so that is the stock settings. So double tapping the power button, I'll go in here and go into advanced, type in the password, 1801. And I'm going to change the current limit to 20 amps. That's the highest that you'll want to change that to. And scrolling down to start strength, comes shipped with 1. Going to select that and go into 2. So I shifted all the way down. Now going through the various pedal assist levels, we should notice that I'm getting a little bit more power. Starting off in Eco, maybe a little bit faster, 9 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. And if I put in more human power, 12, that seems pretty similar. I did shift up into 2nd gear. Let's go in tour mode. When about 13, 14, I'm going to shift up to 3rd gear. 16 miles an hour. Nice leisurely cadence. And if I put in more power, motor's going to respond 18 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into sport. I'm going to shift up to 4th gear. So I would say pretty easily, a lot of people find that 20 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit less, is a nice cruising speed. 17 miles an hour, 18 or so is very doable at a leisurely cadence. And then if I put in a little bit more power, not much, you can hear the motor helping me a little bit more, 19 miles an hour. All right, let's see what it does in turbo mode. Slightly easier, I would say, to maintain this speed. Let's go ahead and go into 6th gear, putting a little bit more power into the motor. 20 miles an hour, 21, shift up into 6th gear, 23 miles an hour. Still at a pretty leisurely cadence, but I would say I still need to work a little bit more to get up to the 27 mile per hour top speed. There it is. So I don't doubt that the other mode is giving you more power, but just riding it, comparing the two, it's really hard to tell the difference. So if you want a little bit more power, turn the amperage up, change it to that 2nd setting. But overall, this is a cruising city electric bike. And even with the torque sensor, you're able to comfortably cruise at a speed that most people want to cruise at. And of course, that's all done with a more natural riding experience with the torque sensor. All right, so that's how the bike performs on flat ground. Let's see how it does up our hill climb test. Welcome to the hill climb test. This is the hill that I test out all the electric bikes that I review on the channel. We'll put a picture on the screen of this hill because the GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is. We'll also throw the specs up there as well. First test will be throttle only. We'll get up to speed and see what the minimum speed is of this bike. 500 watt sustained, 900 watt peak motor. And just keep in mind, I am a lighter weight rider at around 145 or so pounds. And really the hill is starting about now. Seeing that speed go down, 20 miles an hour. With this Bafang motor, 18, 17, 16, 15. And really anything in the teens is what I think is pretty respectable. I saw about 14 miles per hour just for a second. Looks like it might hold us at 15 though. So pretty impressive for a 500 watt motor. Certainly have seen some 500 watt motors perform not quite as well. So 14 miles per hour, it was the minimum speed, but just for a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go back down the hill. Before I do that, let's do a brake test, and then I'll go up the hill while pedaling, talk a little bit about how that feels. Again, these are Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. I don't recommend that you try this, but I want to show off their stopping power. Again, nice and easy to pull with these levers, given they're hydraulic. There's 27, 28 miles an hour, 29, and give those a firm press. And there we go, no problem getting you to a stop, which is the case of most hydraulic disc brakes, but I particularly like these Tektro ones. Okay, hill climb test while pedaling. I am in 1st gear in Eco. Now I will say on the hill climbs with torque sensor electric bikes, sometimes even in the max level of a pedal assist, it's hard to get all that power from the motor. At least that's been my experience as of late. So we'll see how this bike performs. Of course though, you always have the throttle, which kind of overrides what the motor is doing with pedal assist. But something I wanted to call out. All right, Eco in 1st gear. I can maybe get up the hill at 7 miles an hour, but it's going to be a significant workout. Might feel pretty winded at the end. Let's go ahead and go into tour mode. And I think I'm going to stick in 1st gear. Felt a little bit of relief there, going about 7 miles an hour. And I can tell if I push even harder, I'm getting a little bit more power from the motor, but personally, I would go into higher pedal assist. There's sport. And again, I did leave the settings in the second setting, so I should be getting a little bit more power from the motor. That's probably what most people are interested in, seeing what the bike is capable of if you live in a hilly area. And actually, this is pretty good. Sport, still going about 7 miles an hour, but more of a leisurely cadence. So I would say compared to some other torque sensor electric bikes, it seems like you are getting a little bit more power. Let's go ahead and go into turbo. And I can maybe even shift up here in a second gear. Again, nice leisurely cadence going about 9 miles an hour. Of course, you can tell that we're not getting the max power from the motor because of course we're not hitting that 14, 15 miles an hour like we did on the throttle. But yeah, totally doable to get up this hill, first, second, maybe even third gear in turbo mode. Again, with the more powerful setting in the advanced settings, getting power more easily from the motor, more pep. So you're definitely able to pedal this bike up a large hill without using the throttle if you'd like. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Euphree City Robin X Plus. It's pretty clear to me why the Euphree City Robin has resonated with customers over the last few years. So it only makes sense that they would put a lot of energy into continuing to make their e-bike even better, and then making that one even better. At $2,099, it kind of straddles these two price points of affordable electric bikes, sub $2,000, but still falls pretty far short of the high-end market, while still offering a lot of the same features more expensive e-bikes boast. And I'd argue more features than a lot of e-bikes. Let's start firstly with what makes this e-bike stand out, and particularly stand out with the typical e-bike shopper, which skews older. And I will say, it's not just one thing, it's all of the things when you add them up together that make this e-bike really special. Swept back handlebars and an adjustable stem for a more upright riding position. That comfort is increased by a name brand SR Suntour suspension front fork, and my favorite inclusion that pretty much no one else is doing, including a high-quality SR Suntour suspension seat post. Euphree also includes nice locking ergonomic grips and the now included upgraded saddle, which was a welcome change. While I always like customizing our own electric bikes we ride daily, it's just a reality that there's less to add here because Euphree has outfitted it so well. Maybe you'll want to add a mirror. Might I suggest one from our own shop, or perhaps a phone mount if you don't plan to leverage the SP Connect mounting system. Then you have an accessible step-through frame, and remember, step-throughs are not girls' bikes because the best e-bike for you is the one you actually are comfortable riding. And now even more with the X Plus, it's accommodating to even shorter riders. And that's just what makes this bike comfortable and pleasant to ride. I haven't even gotten to the electronics. The average size 14 amp hour battery uses Samsung cells and is nicely integrated into the frame. The motor at 500 watts sustained, 900 watts peak power still allows the rider to achieve class 3 speeds, and now it's powered by a higher end component providing a natural ride feel, a torque sensor. The included rear rack gives the bike more versatility for cargo, and you get that extra bit of capacity with it being welded right into the frame, plus a front basket option if you need it. I also really appreciate the brighter than most integrated headlight for increased safety. While not unusual to be included with an e-bike, the bike comes with fenders so you can ride in all weather, and then yeah, the Café Lock, which is just another nice add-on. Beyond that, the bike is outfitted with quality bike components like the Tektro Hydraulic Disc Brakes and Microshift Drivetrain. Gearing is such that you'll always be able to provide power even at higher speeds. And finally, there are touches that give the bike just that much more of a premium feel. Hidden wiring, certainly a rarity at this price point, and what I think are beautiful paint jobs. It's hard to find any points for improvement on this bike. I'm reaching here, but I think while some prefer the minimalistic display, there are probably some folks that would prefer a larger display, The same could be said about the included thumb throttle versus a twist grip throttle. Even for those that have concerns about buying a direct-to-consumer e-bike, Euphree has a growing bike shop network with 50+ stores across the US. If you watched this video and decided that the Euphree City Robin X Plus is the e-bike for you, I'd really appreciate it if you use our link down in the description before you make your purchase. I think if you stack this e-bike against others at this price point, it's hard to find anything that will have this many features and offer this much value. Let me know if you agree down in the comment section below, and if you own a Euphree, tell others about your experience in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.